Today, we're in the test kitchen making 15-minute meals.
I think 15 minutes is plenty of time.
Efficient cooking is all about a well-stocked pantry.
Pulling out little secret weapons that can kind of just elevate day-to-day normal ingredients.
It's methods and techniques that you have at the ready.
Damn, actually this is really good.
Being able to whip something up quick, yeah, it's a good tool set to have.
Today I'm making scallion fried rice with a fried egg on top. This is like everything went wrong on my commute home kind of dish, and I got home at 8:30 and I need to eat now. It really speaks to things that I already have on hand. The rice is key here because obviously a lot of the work is already done for me and I'm just amping it up. So the fried egg is gonna add a lot of bulk. These sauces are gonna add a lot of flavor, and the alliums are gonna help anchor it and give it depth. So I'm just gonna start by slicing the whites from the scallions. If you wanted to use an onion, you could, but it's definitely gonna make the prep a little bit longer, and I like to keep things fast. A few cloves of garlic, I measure with my heart, and then I'm just gonna grab like 2 tablespoons of the butter, and I'm gonna put it on like medium-high heat, drop the butter in, add the garlic and the scallions, and I want the butter to brown a little bit. That's gonna give us like a nutty, toasty flavor that's just gonna amp up the sesame oil a bit. It's all about just getting as much flavor from the ingredients that you're using as you can. You can see there's some color on the garlic. Now is a really great time to add the rice, the soy sauce, whatever feels right. I'm gonna do a few dashes, the sriracha, and like a dash of the sesame oil. Once the rice looks nice and coated, I like to just tap it down, and this is gonna allow it to crisp up a little bit and give it a little bit of extra texture. You'll hear like a dry pop coming from the skillet, and that's how I know that like the rice has crisped up. I'm gonna add like a tablespoon or 2 of oil. I'm gonna show you my little trick for getting a white that's completely cooked without like sacrificing the yolk. So if you tear little air pockets into that like thicker white part, you'll get like a very evenly cooked white. So just tip and pour the oil on top, also to cook that thicker white part. The white is cooked. I know the yolk is gonna stay runny, and now it's just about color. I'm done. Add some of those scallions on top, a few dashes of soy sauce to season the egg, and some sesame seeds. It's all about the runny yolk for me. It's so good. You get the like little crispy bits from like searing off the rice, a little bit of richness from the yolk, and lots of depth from the scallions and garlic. So this is the kind of dish that I like would look forward to at the end of a long day that comes together super fast. It all happens in one pan, like the rice and the egg, and you don't really have to measure anything. Just keep tasting as you go and you'll be fine.
This is a style of curry that plays mostly into the sort of Japanese tradition of curry, specifically using these like S&B roux blocks. I found that these do an amazing job of creating this rich curry base with almost no effort. I can put the rice cakes right in there. They can just cook through to bouncy, chewy tenderness. This is like the true genius and the true solve in terms of how you turn a bunch of disparate elements into a dish. All right, I'm just soaking my rice cakes. I never actually know if this does anything, but I'm using rice cakes that I've been keeping in the freezer, and they just need to be defrosted. Things like ginger and garlic add so much flavor to whatever dish they hit. So I'm taking sausage out of the casing. I could use ground meat, but using sausage speeds things up. Fast trimming the green beans. You don't need to take the tail off, just the top. When they're in bigger pieces like this, I'll just do like a real fast half chop there. I just want to cut up my curry blocks. This is sweet Italian sausage. I like to use sausage because it's seasoned and ready to go. Just breaking it up. Now for our aromatics, that's our ginger and our garlic. Green beans can go in. All right. That's the roux going in. I want to let these dissolve. I want to make sure like I've got plenty of thickening power and tightness here. Rice cakes can go in. Throw a lid on it. They're already starting to soften now, but I want them to be kind of submerged and coated because that's what's going to soften them fully. All right, I think we're just about there. Little extra pop of salt. I'm gonna put in a piece of butter, a little bit of toasted sesame oil to finish. Is gonna bring this thing home. Good to go. Usually, I mean, I would frankly just eat this right out of the skillet and call it a day. A little cilantro going on. Curried rice cakes, green beans, little sausage. It's so much flavor to have created in such a little amount of time. I think like the real solve is like just being able to make that fast curry base. You can apply it to so many different things. It's those tools that allow you to get lunch on the table in, 15 minutes or even less.
So I'm gonna be making a seared flank steak with salvitxada, which is a really delicious sauce from Catalan, which is based with almonds and tomato, but you can actually make it dual purpose by dividing it in half, so you get a condiment that adds texture, but you also get sauce to dip your steak in. Flank steak is a really great cut because it's thin. You don't have to worry about rendering out a ton of fat. It's gonna cook really quickly on both sides. So the first thing I'm gonna do is season my meat and let it do its thing while I also then work on my condiment at the same time. But what I'm doing is I'm building the base for my salvitxada, which is tomato, garlic, we have parsley, and you can use a Fresno chili, you can use a Scotch bonnet, which I typically would use. I'm moving on to this beautiful long red chili. Kind of like, I'm gonna leave it kind of chunky. Garlic also kind of has its own element of heat, but it also adds this sort of, I guess you can say, umami flavor to a dish as well. The garlic here is super thin so that you're not getting a huge bite of it. I'm also going to salt it, and that's gonna help to break that garlic down. It's gonna also pull the flavor and the liquid out of the tomato and the chilies as well. And then the rest of my garlic I'm gonna actually add to my mortar and pestle. We'll save that for later. Parsley is nice because you can use the leaf and you can use the stem. So you wanna use the sort of like the younger, tender stem part of it. In Jamaica, they use a lot of thyme. Fresh is nice because when we're making a paste, it'll release those oils. We're gonna just chop up a little bit of almond and add it to our salvitxada condiment. I'm gonna add sherry vinegar. The acidity is going to also pick up the acidity of the tomato. I'm gonna dress this with a little oil. And let's start this sear on our steak. So we're gonna go for very, very high heat. I'm going to put it to the center of my pan. I want the skin to sear really, really hard. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna flip it probably like every 30 to 45 seconds. We have our thyme and our garlic and our mortar and pestle. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt to the mortar and pestle, olive oil. We're gonna take a little pastry brush and brush this onto the other side of our steak. Give this a flip. Gonna brush one side. Then we're gonna coat it. We're gonna build up like a little lacquer or layered effect. Let that go for another 30 to 45 seconds. We're gonna add half of our condiment to our blender. I'm actually going to grab 2 anchovies, cut that off, and then we'll check on our steak. This is the color profile we're looking for the steak. So this is looking good. I'm gonna pull this. I like medium rareness going on in my steak. You wanna make sure that it rests so that when you slice into it, you don't get this big pool of bloody steak. It's full of moisture and also flavor. You don't want that to release. And so I'm gonna start with my salvitxada sauce. Make sure that like you put steak onto like a dip, then you don't have to dip it again, but you can dip it if you want to. Get a little swipe of the plate. You know what I'm talking about. This is leaching all that liquid out still. Make sure that it drains so it's not too wet. And then that's just going to go like so. Hit it with a little bit of olive oil and then finish it with a tiny bit of salt. And there we have our flank steak with salvitxada. This is a really good go-to meal because you're maximizing on ingredients, flavor, you're getting the best of both worlds from turning the condiment into a sauce, and just really leaning on seasoning. Seasoning is always your friend. If you do it right, it really goes a long way.
So I picked the fish for a quick meal because it cooks rather quick. So we have 2 swordfish steaks. It's just so fatty, it's so marbleized, it's delicious. Man, it really is kind of like the Wagyu of the sea. We'll get that seared off, we'll cook our fish, and then we'll make a little salad. Quick little meal, something that I might have laying around for the most part, and a couple solid pantry items, a couple secret weapons. We're gonna let that preheat. We wanna let that get nice and hot, let that get going, and we'll go back. We're gonna put a little salt on the fish. You know, it's something I even like to do a little bit ahead of time. With fish, especially a thick piece of fish like this, you can kind of cook it like red meat a little. If we got a little Persian cucumber, I like to have it, and then just do little slanty cuts like that, little off. Radishes are in my opinion, a perfect vegetable. They're crispy, they're crunchy, they're versatile. Some little sun gold tomatoes as well. We'll do it on the old quart container lid trick. Add that right to the party. We'll add some olives. We'll do a little avocado too. Let's hit it with a little salt. Season everything. We're also gonna add a little bit of shoyu. We'll hit it with a little bit of rice vinegar, just a skosh. Oh, a little togarashi. And it's just like a little spicy Japanese seasoning. All right, I'm just gonna add a little bit of grain as well. Not a ton, just to give it a little texture, a little carbohydrate. I don't want it to be, that's all you're tasting. Just a little bit of olive oil, a small drizzle of sesame oil. Simple, surrounded by a lot of really interesting staple ingredients that I keep in my pantry to pull off delicious, quick, fast, fresh, easy meals. So now we got our fish. I put a little bit of oil on it, and here we go. This thick fish takes a little bit longer time to cook. It is more forgiving. You know, you're talking a few minutes on each side. Cook times with fish are always gonna vary on the species and the size of the piece. It has this like interconnective fat tissue going, almost like what you would want to see in beef. And just like in the world of cooking steak, I put a little bit of garlic and a little bit of rosemary in there. I'll do a little bit of butter right at the end. You know, why not? And we're kind of good to go. You know, when you start to see like it would want to fall apart, and if your gut reaction is it needs another minute, give it another minute. So we got our salad. It's been sitting, the grains have been absorbing some of those liquids that we put in, like the vinegar and the shoyu. It can start to make its own little coating and its own little sauce. Seems like a good meal to me. Yeah, let's give the fish the old spoon test. It's fatty, it's moist, salty, very satisfying. Eats more like a pork chop. What I love about using and cooking with old grains and incorporating it into something like a salad, everything's kind of jammy and delicious. Just kind of a perfect meal in my opinion. Just a quick kind of cooking protein, and you can pull it off with any kind of pantry salad.
Today, my 15-minute meal is yakisoba, but in general, it is kind of a stir-fry noodle situation. You can make it your own with whatever vegetable / protein you have rolling around in your fridge. What I like about these noodles, they're kind of ramen-like. They're fresh, and these are, I believe, par-cooked in a way. So really you just have to stir-fry them, and then they're done. I'm not above getting a prepackaged bottle that I know will serve its duty. One pan, 15-ish minutes, will get you to yakisoba land. Bean sprouts, I'm not measuring, but like a cup-ish. Pick up a coleslaw mix. Using half a bag or even a full bag will help eliminate the prep. Separate the greens from the whites. Success hinges on everything kind of being ready because it doesn't spend much time cooking. A fresh pork belly is so lovely. Cut it small-ish so that it kind of resembles everything else because it's gonna cook fast. What I like about fresh pork belly is you're getting the oil, the fat, which is contributing to the foundation flavor of anything that you're cooking. This brand of soba noodles, they come in a larger pack of 3, but I think for this portion, 2 is fine. So let's get cooking. Medium, high heat. While I'm waiting for it to come to heat is just season my pork a bit, putting our pork in. Try to get it into like a thin layer and then don't touch it. And then add the whites of your scallions. Drain off as much water as possible. Season every layer of the way. The coleslaw mix is so great because everything is like chopped and ready to go. Yaki does mean fried, so just give it a minute to get a nice little crust. Just a few drops of water on the noodles. It will help them steam in kind of the way maybe when you make pan-fried dumplings. And then it'll help kind of remove them from their caked up state. You can definitely use tongs, but I don't know why I like to do it this way. Lower the heat a little bit before we add the sauce so it doesn't burn on impact. You can add your fresh green scallions now as well. For this amount of noodles, I would start with maybe like 2 or 3 tablespoons. Does it smell like yakisoba? Yes. Look at this colorful noodle dish with lots of veg. You know, anytime I can try to get more vegetables into my family, I do. Traditionally, you'll see yakisoba served with beni shoga, which is just pickled ginger. This goes a long way in breaking up some of the richness. And this is aonori, which you can just sprinkle on. It's just dried seaweed in a very fine form. It really came together in no time at all. Like half the time was spent prepping the ingredients, which feels very much true to the stir-fried school. Think of this as a nice fried rice counterpoint in your weeknight dinner arsenal. The heat, the smokiness, you can taste it here. Just keep a bottle of the prepared sauce in your pantry. Always keep some fresh noodles on standby as well. If you have any other vegetables rolling around, now is a good time to use them.
This dish is creamy spinach and chickpeas. There are a few things I always have in my pantry and freezer for like quick meals. I love having frozen greens. Frozen spinach and kale are my go-tos. I always have canned beans and a few like sauces. This one comes together fast because you're relying on big flavors. Like I'm using harissa, I'm using pickled peppers. So those are all big, bold flavors. So you don't have to do much to get the dish to the finish line. It's creamy, it's crunchy, it's spicy, it's punchy, it's vibrant. It's everything that I want to eat, but 15 minutes. So I'll start by cutting my shallots. Shallots are good because they're everything an onion promises to be, but a little bit milder. Lemon. We're going to use this to finish our dish. Drain your chickpeas. If you're the thrifty, smart cook, you could save that chickpea water for something. I am not that person today. I love Cascadian Farm. For some reason, it's just more vibrant. I am going to dump my spinach in so that it can start draining. So that means going in there and squeezing every last bit of water out. So we're going to go in and add our harissa to our chickpeas. This is Tunisian or Moroccan spice paste. It's really well balanced and very flavorful, and it's not just spicy. So this heavy cream is going to go in the chickpeas and the spinach. So we can head on over to the stove. We're gonna start by heating up a little bit of olive oil. Add the shallots, give them a stir. You need a little bit of salt, the chickpeas and the harissa. We're gonna get that started as well, and that can start simmering. The shallots are going to take about 4 to 5 minutes, and we're looking for them to get a little bit of color, while the chickpeas that are going on over there, they're going to take 10 to 12 minutes. You're looking for it to thicken up and become saucy. Next thing we're going to do is add our spinach, and we need about a tablespoon of flour. The flour is there just to thicken everything up a little bit. It is just like creating a roux. That's what you're effectively doing. So once you see it starting to stick a little bit like that, that's kind of when you go in and add your heavy cream. And then we're also going to add a bit of water, just to make sure everything is the texture we want. You want to let it simmer a little bit because you want the raw taste of the flour to cook out. Time is a good guide, but go by visual cues. While that's coming together in the last minute, I'm just going to warm up the flatbread. Let's see if we can get a few charred spots on there. Meanwhile, I'm going to turn these guys off. You can see the oil kind of beating up on the surface. That's a good indication that you're cooking the spices out well. Okay, to the chickpeas, we're just going to stir in some of our giardiniera, which is like Italian-style pickled vegetables. Kind of brightens everything. Stir that in, and we're good there, and we're ready to plate. And then we're going to spoon our chickpeas on top, and then we're going to finish it off with pickled peppers. Again, nothing fancy with the cuts, you're just cutting really rough, and then just pile it on top. The last thing we need to do is garnish it with fried shallots, and that's it. That was my 15-minute creamy spinach and chickpeas with flatbread. Okay, a little squeeze of lemon. It really does hit every flavor note. The first thing you taste is pickled peppers and the giardiniera. It's really vibrant. It's fun and fresh and very unexpected. Always keep frozen greens in your freezer, and you have a 15-minute meal. Sorry, but this is really good.